Hey guys, today we will be replacing the water pump of my 1958 Corvette. So it started making noise and apparently also leaking a few drops of water from where the bolts are going in. So when I loosened up the fan and took it out, I saw that there's a movement here. So that was the reason of the noise, and you can also hear it. So I prefer not to remove the radiator and the fan shroud. I was able to access the fan and loosen the bolts. There was a spacer, I will show you here. So I removed the fan. This is a 1961 engine, so your fan could be different. And there was this spacer, and also finally the pulley. These are the bolts which came out from the fan. And before you start doing stuff, this is not an advertisement, but I love these Grease Monkey wipes. They really clean the grease off your hands very easily. It's like a miracle. So as soon as I decided to remove the pump, I noticed, I didn't know that, and I noticed that the pump is actually fixed to the engine through the engine mount. So if you loosen the pump and try to take it out, then there will be no mount supporting the engine, and it will fall off down to the ground, to the floor. So there are a few options here. I went to Home Depot and I got these 2x6 studs, and I had them cut into 1 foot length. I will put these under the oil carter, and I will support the engine so that it doesn't go down as soon as I just unbolt the engine mount. So let's check here. If you can see, I put those 8 studs on top of each other. I jacked the car a bit, maybe a few inches up. So what I'm planning to do is I will just loosen the engine mounts, and once I do that, I will lower the car so that engine will be just maybe like ½ inch above its original spot, so I can easily take out the engine mount as well as the water pump. Is just loosen these 2 bolts holding the engine mounts to the body. Originally, actually these were supposed to be installed from bottom to up, so that bolts would be on the upper side instead of this, but mine was somehow upside down. So I loosened this up, and the next thing I will do is I will also loosen the other side. Meanwhile, of course, it's no brainer that I removed the radiator hose and I drained the coolant from the radiator and engine. I will also now take off the water heater hose. So also, if you check the forums, they suggest that you loosen the nipples and everything while the water pump is still on the engine. Otherwise it would be quite hard to take them off once you take the pump off. So here's my coolant drained. I plan to replace the antifreeze as well because it's like 2 years old, and you can check how I jack the car up. The car on the wooden blocks, as you can see, there's a slight gap here. The engine mount is loose, so it's not holding the engine anymore, but my wood studs from the oil cartel. And now you have 4 bolts to loosen up, 2 on this side and 2 on the other side. And ideally then the motor mount and the water pump should come off. I removed 2 bolts from this side too, and the water pump is about to be loose. One thing to mention, my car is 1958 but the engine is 1961. The original one, the water pump should not have this bypass hole here, and it would be just flat. And then the motor mount if you buy something up to 1960, that would not have this notch here, so it will be just flat. But because of this bypass valve, which I believe are being used in 1961 and 62 to collect the water which overflows from the radiator, is not used in my car. So there's a plug here. But still, if you buy this type of pump, be careful, because you may need to replace your original motor mount to this model as well. So now we will take the water pump off. So the pump is off, and I'm using one of these Grease Monkey wipes, and watch how it clears. This is my hand now, and I'm just rubbing it off. You see how it cleans? It's really incredible. Again, I'm not advertising, but you should get one of those. Okay. So the pump is out, as well as the motor mount. This is a bit tricky, because if you buy the pump, it will come with only... Sorry about that. So it will just come with 2 gaskets, right? But the problem is that your mount is facing the motor, and it's also facing the water channels there. So that's why you need to buy another pair of gaskets, and I will use Permatex here to put these gaskets on the surface of the motor mount, so that you will not have problems in the future. Also, if you check the forums, these are the bolts. 4 bolts came out. This is for the generator support, and this is from the passenger side, and these 2 from the driver's side. And apparently you need to also use kind of thread sealers, which are not hardening. So I will use this. I bought this Permatex from Home Depot, and I will use this as a thread sealant as well as the gasket sealer. While you take out the motor mount, I would also suggest you to replace these mounting kits as well. 2 rubbers. This sits on the upper part, and this sits on the bottom. The problem is there's supposed to be a tube holding these together, but they just bolted them through. That's why it was so smashed, and as you can see, it's totally worn out, and you may have several problems like rattling exhaust pipe because the elevation of the engine is not right. So these are like 50-60 bucks a set, including the bolts, so I will have them replaced as well. You need to use a scraper. Make sure that you scrape these old gaskets well. Otherwise, this is a one-time operation, right? You don't want to remove this again several times, because it's a tedious job. So you need to make it right. So make sure you clean the old gaskets very well. So the new pump came today. I had to remove the plug from the old one because it came without the bypass plug. I don't have bypass in this car. And also I bought a nipple for 5/8 hose, and I had to get a reducer from 1/2 inch NPT to 3/4 NPT so that I can put this in. Everyone suggests to use this Permatex number 2 for the gaskets and threads. So I will do the same. There are warnings that we should not be using RTV silicone. So I covered the pump, and I will paint it now. Meanwhile, I also got these studs. I cut them into half. They were longer. So what I will do is I will just screw these in so that I can slide the pump in with gaskets, everything aligned, and I will then remove these studs one by one and put the original bolts in. I also got the new motor mounts, so I will be installing these as well as a few other stuff. So there's a pair of gaskets from the pump, and I told you before that you need to get another pair because you will need to put it behind the engine mount. So engine mount is also clean and ready to go. it's especially important that you clean these surfaces well, without grease or anything. And also, if there are any pittings or ununiformities, then they suggest that you buy a new one. I screwed in the bolts, actually studs, and I put the gaskets in between using the gasket sealer, and also I put the motor mounts. I did not tie them up yet because the engine is still on the jack. So once I screw everything down, including the pump, I will then raise the car and take the studs from the oil pan and tighten these up. Here is the completed project. So I put the water pump on. I also installed the bolts. I used a torque wrench, 35 pounds, to tighten those 4 bolts. I put the fan back along with the spacer. I had to remove one spacer which was in the pulley because apparently, like, the new pump is very slightly longer than the old one. I installed the alternator and I put the hoses back, and everything seems to run fine. One thing you need to be careful, again, there are 2 pairs of gaskets. One is between the motor mount and the engine, and the other one is between the pump and motor mount. So once you drive the car a few miles, the engine torque will try to rotate the pump. That's why we use the non-hardening gasket sealer, and after a few miles of ride you need to again tighten the bolts of the pump with torque wrench, and I suggest that you should be doing this first 3 or 4 drives, because every time I tightened them up they were still loose, and apparently this is what is being suggested to prevent leaks. So that's kind of important. So far, touch the wood, I don't have any leaks and everything is running fine. I also connected these ground cables, which are special to Corvettes because the body is fiber. There are these ground meshes everywhere, so it's like kind of a cage, grounded from the engine to frame on several points, exhaust pipe, motor mounts, throttle linkage. So thank you for watching. There are very few videos about these repairs on these C1 Corvettes. I hope this will help your project.